And eventually she slowly starts nodding her head from side to side as if mulling it over. And eventually her eyes sort of like flick to each of you in turns before eventually she shrugs her head slightly. And the door slowly slides open. And it's already open. Okay. Yeah, that's it open from before. All right, perfect. But otherwise, she doesn't seem to say anything about it.
Oh, yeah, is our stuff still in the room, or do we actually have it?
The stuff you left in piles is stuff that is actually there. In that room, for example, none of you had any metal armor or weapons. I think someone managed to kick an axe across the floor.
Sky will grab her stuff then.
Cassius too.
Likewise.
Ditto Sissifer.
Has that door in the bottom right changed?
What do you mean changed?
Well, like every other door has changed when we got out of the last room.
Oh. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, so in this sense, as you come out here, much like before, oh my god, something flew into my mouth.
All right, John, swallow. It's protein.
Don't laugh at John. He's like God right now.
I thought that was a cat in the other room.
That can happen. Oh, it's not like a bee or something.
All right, well, that was magical.
Hey man.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I probably just swallowed a moth or something, or a piece of dust, or feathers. I don't know.
It's a
Palmetto.
really tiny coronavirus bat.
Anyway, so much like with the other doors, as you mentioned. Now, on this one, this is a slightly indented slab of a polished gray stone, much like you'd seen before. But this one seems larger, easily 2 or 3 times the height of the previous ones, perhaps giving you a little bit more room to work with in terms of what you say.
What was the thing that the plaque said?
What I tried to forget, or what
Before
I left
we make
behind.
any guesses, we should put all of our gear on so we don't get in a fight without being ready.
Yep.
Oh, just something in hindsight. It would have been hilarious if Jimmy's character had joined us before we got down that hallway. Because his entire character's made of metal.
With that, with a little bit of prodding and urging by Cassius and Alvin, just being autopiloted back into the room. The group waits for about 10 minutes for each of them to in turn strap into their armor and reapply their shields. Eventually, fully donned once again.
I guess while they're doing that, I could go ahead and identify that staff like Charlie wanted.
I'll take a short rest while they're doing their thing there, because I want to gain my
10 minutes.
shape
That's
changes
what
back.
they're doing.
Oh, I'll take my longer myself.
I don't really have any armor to put on.
Same.
All right. Well, don't go adding anything to your sheet until you get that full hour. So. But
1 hour later.
So with that, about 10 minutes pass by. The rest of the party dons their armor. Otherwise, gets them strapped back together. And again, Cassius gives the floor over to Sky and Charlie.
Hmm. What do you think, Charlie?
Hmm. It's a big old staff that's taller than me and has floaty bits at the end.
About the door.
About the door, I was thinking something about his regrets, but I'm not sure. That
Well,
I mean, it feels good in my head, but it also sounds too generic compared to the answers of the other doors.
what I was thinking is that really this whole place is more designed so he can forget what kind of guy he really is. Here he can, especially with that room over there, he can have whatever kind of adventures he wants. And might be what this whole place was for him. Just a place where he can pretend to be someone other than who he is. Where Amble can be a great and powerful wizard instead of a guy who shuts himself in all day.
He's a neat, got it.
So he spends all of his days playing imaginary games instead of going outside and doing stuff.
Yeah.
Can't possibly understand that.
I'm starting to feel personally attacked for some reason.
Next, you're gonna tell me he lives in a swamp.
Oh, it's a cave in a forest, so it can't be a swamp.
It's been so long, I forget where we're at.
It's been 8 months now.
It's been 8 months.
Late game time, it's been a day and a half.
Has it been 8 months?
About that, I think. Going by the recordings, looking back at YouTube.
Oh, and I sent you the staff thing too, nurses.
Okay.
I need to go change my laundry real quick.
This guy tells Charlie it's a staff of adornment.
Yep.
You place an object weighing no more than 1 pound above the tip of the staff while holding it. It'll float there until you remove it or you drop the staff. And it can have three things up there at once.
Yep.
You can also make them spin or turn in place.
Yay.
Did you just call a staff of holding?
Adornment.
Say that.
Because you can adorn the staff.
Yeah, I'll probably just give it to Bird Box over there. But he's not here this week.
Hi, Thors.
Okay,
Congratulations again.
thanks.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, congrats, buddy. Happy engagement.
Thanks.
Hey, congrats, Source.
Anyways, we need to get through this door so that we can get this freaking dungeon over with. And by over with, I mean I enjoyed every minute of it, but I also am ready to move on to new things.
Like what's behind this door?
Actually, I'm kind of excited to go through this door.
Well,
Somebody should just yell. Oh, wait, maybe I should just yell "Shine bright" at the door.
I don't think that's right.
Yeah, that's exactly what the second simulation was trying to tell us.
Shine bright like a diamond.
I'm
Wait, so
honestly,
was the choice between desert, ocean, and whatever the other thing was that an in-game choice like our characters made, or was that us out of game making that choice?
yeah, don't you remember everything about that place was meta with Belly being the DM?
If it was in-game and out of game, or in-game, I mean, then I would be like, yes, I agree with what Sky said.
Well, I hope it's not asking for a specific answer. This guy's gonna say, the real Amble, who never accomplished anything.
You approach the door, looking back to the party one last time, and then speak the words. The real imp didn't accomplish anything. You see the words appear on the door as you say them, much as they had before. Sorry, my game froze up there, and I'm trying to click on stuff. There's a pause. Nothing seems to happen at first, until eventually you see the words begin to glow, be outlined in yellow. They slowly fade away, seeping into the stone, then vanishing entirely.
Yeah, well, that was my guess.
You hear a soft sighing sound and a click from in front of you.
Oh.
I'm trying to open the door.
You reach down, a handle having appeared where there wasn't one before. You take hold of it and press forward, and the door presses in. And reveals, again, a long, outstretched hallway. But whereas in the other rooms, they were all set pieces of polished stone, seemed to be seamless, set into the very rock it's carved from. This one seems to wave and shake, as if fluid in nature. It has a blurry, almost uncomfortable look to it, as either imagined or otherwise waves seem to lap along its surface and gently crash against the walls of the hall.
Back when, in that vision, when I had picked up that staff, did it look kind of similar to this before it all came crashing down?
One of the things I commented on is that the staff seemed eerily familiar. Not identical, but there were overtones that made it look like something like a pale facsimile.
Sexual.
Yeah, overtly sexual. A large phallus-shaped rod.
Belku yells in the corner. Holy shit, did you just insult that door open?
I hope not.
I didn't know you were a bard.
Remind me of the witch doctor in my tribe. Her name was Ruth.
Ruthless.
Witch Doctor Ruth.
I'm going to inspect the like press my hand up against the wall and see if it's safe.
You reach out over the slightly turbulent floor, press your hand against the wall. It's smooth and cool to the touch, mirroring much of the stone that the tomb is crafted of.
I guess I'll try the floor.
You reach down and touch the floor. You feel it's almost like sand that runs like water. It feels like as if it's there, a substance, but doesn't really feel as if it has a temperature to it, as if it's part of your hand when you touch it. But there is a physical presence to it. It does seem to lurch and shift.
I'm going to touch my staff to it.
You take the staff and tap it against the surface, but it doesn't quite reach into the fluid. If anything, it stops just before it would touch. You see that the water freezes. There are no longer waves lapping against the walls. Every now and then you see a faint ripple along the surface. It's still fluid, in a sense, but seems as if it's waiting for something. Where the staff touches, though, is where you notice something strange. The surface seems to warp against where the staff touches, and you can see it as if it's churning just below the staff clockwise.
I'm going to try something. I'm going to try envisioning a solid, smooth floor while I'm doing this.
You close your eyes, envisioning a smooth floor. A moment passes by as you clarify the image in your mind. Focus on it. Hone on it. When you open your eyes, the floor hasn't changed. It's still that strange fluid substance from before, and still warps beneath the staff's touch.
Ah, well, it's worth a shot. Anyway, while I'm in this room, I might as well reload the staff.
You turn away from the hall, pulling the staff along with you. But as it sort of moves along the surface, as you turn, you see the floor suddenly shift. It flashes blue, green, red, white, stone, grass, wood. And then as you pull it away, with a soft click, it goes back to the tumultuous waves lapping against the wall.
I'd actually like to. Okay, let me try that again. Except I'm going to hold the image in that image of the floor in my mind, and then move the staff away. Maybe that was the trigger.
Maybe think stone?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Stone floor.
Again with the staff pressed against the surface. You try to envision a stone floor once again. But still nothing seems to change as you hold the staff steady against the surface. The only thing that seems to differ with the staff pressed against it is the small circulation beneath it, as if it warps under the staff's touch.
Maybe I should just. Stone floor? Just say that?
You call out, speaking stone floor, to the staff and to the hall. But again, nothing seems to change. The waves seem to lap indifferently to your
You can
words.
say it rotates clockwise.
Try the roof.
What happens if I rotate the staff, mirroring the clockwise rotation?
You decide to focus a little closer on the warping beneath the staff, noticing the slight rotation to the pattern. Very slowly, very calmly, you spin the staff, rotating it just with the slightest movement of your wrist. As it spins, you watch the surface slowly fade. Not away, but being overridden. Slowly, where there was a strange lapping sand. As you spin the staff, it slowly fades into existence, a deep crimson floor of roiling, molten rock.
I just burned my staff. Great.
Still, you feel the heat. You see the smoke rise up, but don't feel it lapping against your face. And still the staff sits just above the surface.
Let's keep going.
You spin the staff slightly more, moving along to see perhaps what else is turned up. Another slight rotation, and again, now the lava seems to fade. You see it cool and harden, and then wash away as grass begins to sprout along the floor, spreading out as if a meadow in the hall. You see small insects and butterflies seem to fly as if through the walls, pass by, and then disappear into the other. You can hear the sound of birds chirping in the distance.
It's reminding me of outside. Let's keep going.
Again, a little bit more turning. Very slowly, carefully, methodically. Now you watch the grass
You try your
wither.
staff on the roof.
You watch the grass wither and fade away. It seems to blacken and then wither. Now the ground is smooth obsidian, black and reflective. The hall seems strangely silent. And you can tell that even the sounds of your compatriots talking behind you seem to die out as they pass along the threshold.
That one's creepy. Let's keep going.
You turn the staff again. Now it washes away, the obsidian seeming to melt, but now it turns into a strange, undulating mass. It seems to have waves to it like before, but now wobbling from side to side, as if only a small section of a much, much larger, semi-solid surface.
No, that's weird. Keep going.
That's too many. Put one back.
You watch the surface again seem as if it melts, as if flash heated by some substance, by some sort of like strange heat. But you don't feel the heat. It only seems to wash away. Now, where there was a surface, a bright purple mass, now there seems to be a thin film. And beneath it, some sort of strange red mass.
This is even creepier than the obsidian.
You see bubbles churning from beneath. And for a moment, you feel as if you see a large shadow pass by from beneath. But
Let's
otherwise,
turn
the
it
top
with a note.
seems still.
It's a big blood blister.
Pick one.
I'm trying to find one that's not scary.
The grass wasn't scary.
Why did you pick the grass?
Oh no, black rocks! Call the police, it's coming right for me.
Not marble.
Cats don't have to be rationally afraid of things.
Wait, aren't the mummy police supposed to be coming after us?
Black marble's too expensive to install.
More marble columns, more cats with lightning bolts.
So what's the next channel?
As you turn the channel, I'll say, the floor washes away, now seeming to solidify and harden before beginning to shift and change. Now you see a mass of metal, hundreds upon thousands of small spinning gears, all interlocked, spin and twirl in front of you. The majority of the floor seems to be composed of 7 or 8 massive discs that seem to be spun by sources outside of the frame, you could say, slowly turning into focus from outside, the teeth of the gears coming together to form a path, which sits for a moment and then slowly spreads apart, only for the teeth to come together again and the path reformed.
Let's try another one. Probably just loop around after a while.
John's like rolling his random floor generator.
Well, it shouldn't give us a toy if he doesn't want us to play with it.
Have you tried just turning it the other way?
I assume that just makes it go back.
Yeah, I mean, why don't you just go back to the grass?
I want to see what other floors there are.
Oh my god. Okay.
Waiting for the gold floor, CT Jesus.
You gotta just chip
Shiny
it away.
floor.
Do you have a chisel? Does anybody have a chisel?
You turn the staff once more. You see the gears freeze and lock up, and eventually begin to sort of mold together. In front of you stretches now a large path of wood, of living wood and bark. You see small knots and branches, but the leaves on them seem almost impossibly large, the smallest among them easily the size of Cassius in his entirety. Again, you hear the sounds of birds in the distance, but there's a strange tenor to it, an echoing bellow that perhaps belays the source.
Okay, we're getting better, but let's see if we can do a little better.
It's like the Cadbury lion. Block! Block!
You see the wood begin to seemingly rot and morph. The floor seems to fade away into nothing. There's now a void in front of you. Not as if a chasm, but of darkness. Something that seems eerily reminiscent of the times before Belly could change what you were looking at.
Let's keep going.
Again, you spin the channel. I call it that now. Now what stretches in front of you is no longer even a floor, as far as you can tell. It seems to be a massive snowstorm, a blizzard that rages just on the other side of the threshold. There's a path that you can see at least for about a foot, solid stone, snow, and ice. The blizzard beyond the threshold obscures any sight beyond that.
We'll eventually find something we can use.
You hear the sound of wind howling in the distance, or across the plains.
Alright, let's keep going.
You see the gray haze in front of you begin to take shape, to take form almost. Now what seems to stretch in front of you is a large... You stop, puzzled by it. You see a horizon line. The sky, or you get the sense of staring off into a horizon, as if your eyes fixate on a point, but you can't quite tell why. The ground seems to reach up at a peak, and seems to consist of roof tiles.
I can work with this.
What are we?
Good.
Are we some kinds of thieves skulking along the rooftop?
I mean, it's getting warmer. Let's keep going. You can go ahead and jump in there before I do this, Tala.
Uh-huh.
Can I push Tala in?
No.
I'm asking John, not you.
You watch You watch the mass seem to disintegrate and melt away, collapsing into this strange red mass. It seems to constantly move and shift as if it's blurry. You look down a little bit closer and you see that the floor seems to consist of one contiguous pile of ants that crawl and swarm on top of another.
Switch it.
All of my note.
2,000 channels and still nothing to watch.
I don't know, the wood one seemed pretty neat.
Rotting wood.
Not really just spin it until I get the grass again.
It was living wood for a while.
Like, is it actual stone this time?
No. There we go. So this time what seems to stretch in front of you, it seems the red haze seems to melt away. Again, there seems to be a chasm, but this one more physical than otherwise. A massive expanse stretches out before you, with only a somewhat rickety bridge meant to span it. But the fall beneath seems to fade on to, how you'd say, something you'd not like to imagine.
Yeah, I'm good.
Keep going. Just getting to get a little bored with this.
You're gonna get to the rickety bridge and be like, yeah, that's good enough.
You turn the staff, another quarter turn. The bridge seems to form together, taking a more coherent shape. The boards fuse, and they seem to shrink as they do. Before you opens up a small rocky path. Shrubbery on either side. With a bridge spanning over a gently flowing river. The sound
Right.
of trickling water slowly filtering into your ears.
Good enough.
I like this. I can work with this.
Okay. Anybody want to go see what's on the other side?
So as you sort of pause, you feel sort of a soft click, and the staff seems to lose a sense of weightiness in your hand, I should say.
Oh, it was heavy before?
You could still kind of feel its weight in your palm, just from turning it. But when that click sound happened, it sort of seemed to tense up. Imagine holding a pole set into the ground rather than a staff in the air.
Well, it's looking like it's good enough for me. Cassius steps into the room.
Cool, why don't we wait 30 minutes and take a rest and then cross debris?
Because I want to get out of here now.
Ah! Oh, it's okay now.
Yeah, the bridge break. You watch Cassius step across, and a massive eyeball opens on the bridge.
What?
And then,
Fucking
Have
bridge
fun.
mimics.
then the door closes.
What?
I know how this
Oh,
ends.
okay.
I know what is he referencing?
I've seen enough Japanese entertainment to know where this is going.
Tentacles come out, and there's only darkness.
Cassius is the first to approach, making his way across the threshold. Cassius, as you do, you feel the sensation of fresh air hit you, as if you're standing in an open space, rather than an entirely compressed tomb.
Cassius takes a deep breath.
You hear and smell and taste the water lapping against slowly flowing by. You feel the wind, hear leaves rustling, but only the ground beneath your feet seems different. On either side of you are still the same cold, seamless walls that you've seen everywhere else.
You know what? I'm going to restock my staff on this pillar. It's right next to me. Give me 4 rolls.
There's still some spells in it, aren't there?
No, I'll use them all. Use the fireball and the raven field, and that's all I had.
We used the fireball on Giga Gorilla.
I assumed they got expended. Because, oh yeah, they do get expended because I used that one spell and it wasn't there anymore.
Alright, I'm gonna start walking across the bridge.
Oh, sorry, I should say that throughout all the channels, the only thing that seemed to remain the same was a large oak door on the other side of the room. There we go. You see that, right?
Yes.
Follow this, put a light in there, boom. There we go. Now it's nice and bright. Yeah, go ahead and roll 4d30. All right. Cassius, you make your way rather uneventfully across the bridge. Your boots clacking against the wood, and then eventually crunching into the stone. That's it, I guess.
I reach for the handle on the door.
You walk up, approaching the unassuming wooden door. It seems normal. Nothing really strange about it. You can see that the handle itself has been worn. Something that stands out to you given the rest of the dungeon. It seems polished by somewhat consistent use.
Are there any signs?
This door again seems to bear no sign. It simply is.
I open the door. Try to pull the door open.
You reach down and take hold of the handle, and it opens.
Everybody else is a coward, Sky.
Yeah.
I'd like you to remember the door directly behind you sprouted a dragon's head and, blasted us down.
Coward.
That's because we tried to pick the lock.
The door opens. And you're greeted with, again, another strange shift in atmosphere. It seems to be a polished wooden floor.
I step in.
Alright, let's do this thing.
What do I see, John?
You step in, and as you do, you see soft lights come into existence. Corners of the doors, handles, and the alabaster, or not the alabaster, the what's it called? That edging work on the bottom of the floor.
Crenellation?
No.
No.
God, that's one of those things that I know, but the moment
Not the big stuff. The wainscoting.
I know what you're talking about, though, so let's continue.
Yeah, those things. They begin to emit faint light. Not a lot individually, but enough to illuminate the entire chamber as you enter. I had a picture put aside to sort of show what we're looking at. The floor and the walls are made of solid, polished wood, intricately carved. You can see that almost every surface, every wall, is set with shelves, which are filled with seemingly countless tomes and papers, almost haphazardly smashed together. You'll see several large tomes in a row, and then almost a foot thick of individualized papers, some sticking out in a rather disorganized fashion, others cleanly and neatly put into place. When you turn to stare at one of the shelves, you see small phantom lights kind of fade into existence. Fade into existence. Intricately carved glass domes that are meant to look like torches. They're somewhat translucent to the eyes.
I'm gonna read some of these scrolls.
I can continue on to the hallway since magic scrolls is nothing for me.
So each of these are doors.
Oh,
Boom, door.
I thought those were the things you were talking about.
The walls.
They're like built into the walls, the scrolls and stuff.
Yeah, I mean he's a weeaboo, right? Wall scrolls.
I don't remember saying. Did I say scrolls? I thought I just kept talking about paper and books.
Oh,
But no, but there are going to be scrolls. Like some shelves are just going to be like piles of scrolls, like filling it all, almost like a wine shelf, but with just rolls of paper. Some are just sort of stacked on top of each other. Some are squished and pressed. Some are like have books on top of them, kind of pressing them down. With some of the shelves clearly being more organized than others.
I think I will grab one at random and see what it is.
You reach forward and grab one of the scrolls. You roll it open, trying to see what it is, and it seems to be notes written from the top to the bottom in very small, very somewhat elegant script. They seem to be notes or thoughts, meditations, almost like a diary, but minute by minute, moment by moment. Seemingly inconsequential thoughts or ideas about mentions of spells or spell work, ways to use or change magic, thoughts on conjuration and the like, but intermixed with thoughts of what to eat, who to talk to, who to invite to such and such.
I look around. I'm like, I wonder if we went into his library or study.
Almost just like a stream of consciousness.
Yes. Cassius, as you make your way to the end of the hall, you're greeted by what seems to be the central chamber of sorts. Something a little more personalized, a little more elegant, perhaps. Whip. You can see how that really came through in the map.
Yeah, I get it. Nice little cozy reading nook. Or writing nook, I guess.
I want that in my house.
So that picture is the inspiration for this room. Let me tell you, I didn't save it the first time I saw it, and it was not easy to find again.
So I'm gonna try this door right beside me. Might just start
I'm
at the end and work our way back.
I'm gonna
Ooh,
do an
what's up?
investigation check at along this alcove of books
I'll
here.
give
This
you a back room.
What are you checking for?
I'm going to peruse through this area, looking for, I don't know, references towards curses or this and that, magical effects related to such. Maybe something
maybe
that'll give
getting
me a
out of
little
here.
bit of insight to my
An
problems back.
exit.
Oh, nobody asked Belly about an exit.
This is us right now.
Oh, I was late. I thought someone asked Belly by the time I got here.
Didn't come up. They just asked if they could leave. They were just saying that they were done being in that room.
Investigation then?
No, so you sit down and begin to sort of peruse the shelves here, just running your eyes along every spine that you can see. You see a few books that do mention curses. They're always joined with names. Yeah, let me type out some of the titles.
So was it the spiral staircase?
Nobody's checked it out yet.
At a quick glance of this shelf, you see 3 tomes that mention curses written on their spines. There's Melfon's Musings, Hexes, and Hexery. Tiny Curses, 4th edition, by Belfont and Manesi. And one smaller tome, this one seeming to be paper bound, but still in surprisingly good condition, simply saying Dwarven curse words.
Hey, let me get that one.
Yeah, but
As a bard, you should take it.
Yes.
What are the is there any the doors? What do they look like?
The doors match the one that led into the chamber, seemingly identical, but all bearing small differences. Different positions of knots in the wood, different patterns to the grain. There we go. But otherwise, all fairly similar in construction. Clearly meant to go together in a single room. They're large, heavy oak doors, carefully interwoven with bands of copper and perhaps some sort of strange silver metal. They're clearly quite heavy, but sit on powerful hinges.
I guess I'll join Cassius in checking out that one.
Oh, that thing you were trying to remember the word for earlier, was it the molding?
Molding.
John, could I look through some stuff for anything about an exit? Or the design of this place or anything like that?
Blueprints.
I'm trying to find something that's like the doors are like nicely carved. You know what? This is good enough. No, it's not good enough. But, you know, it's weird when you try and like look up carved doors. It's like it's either nothing or like fucking ridiculous. All right, here's something good enough. Sorry, I like to.
Well, what's something ridiculous?
Okay, so that's kind of what they're like. You know, somewhat intricately carved. Like I said, bands of silver and copper, but nothing too obtuse. Something ridiculous would be there was like 30 some odd pictures of doors that looked kind of like this in terms of their intricacy, which is a bit much, if you ask me.
I was gonna say though, but all of them are wood, right?
All of them are wood with bands of metal. They're all more or less identical.
I was thinking maybe poke the doors before we go trying to open them. Because it wouldn't be the first time we found mimics in here.
I'm gonna look through Melifont's musings.
Guess while he's doing that, we can check out that door.
Right. Yeah, here, give me 1 second. It's going to pop up on your screen and then be moved. There we go. There we go. So dynamic gliding. Move the door. Put the door. As soon as you throw the door open, you're greeted by a somewhat untidy room. You see a few easels set up. I accidentally deleted some of the rooms.
Thank you, Dad.
Several easels set up in the room. 2 in total, propped up against the walls. One of them only has a blank canvas. One has a partial painting. The floor here is splattered with dots of paint that seem to be somewhat lackadaisically splashed around. The walls themselves have been kept clean and are again stuffed with books and notes, but you notice layers of dust on them, as if they haven't been touched in some time. The paintings themselves, I'm sorry. I was going to describe what was on the paintings without saying that there are paintings that seem to line the walls against the ground, sort of leaning, some of them several paintings thick, along the floor.
What did the paintings appear to be of?
Some of them seem to be portraits, faces and people that, or faces and places that you don't recognize. But a lot of them seemed, I'd say it's a fair mix of portraits, landscapes, and then simply perhaps abstract pieces depicting strange, swirling landscapes or stretched and contorted. It's almost hard to tell at times where creatures and people start or end in some of the painting. You notice that the ones closer to the front seem to be more abstract. As Cassius kind of like flicks through the ones closest to the door with an idle hand. The further back you go, the more normal they seem to be. The ones in the front are different.
He was slowly losing his mind, it looks like.
Or he was just getting really bored.
So what happens if you don't go outside enough?
Wonder if he thought he'd make a dungeon and people would come looking for him. and yeah, nobody did.
Guess I can try this door.
It was just a cry for help.
To give you kind of an idea of what some of them look like in one of the piles, some of you may recognize this somewhat famous picture, but this is kind of like some of the shifts that some of them go through. While some stacks are like that, just at a glance, you do see several standard portraits in the room. Let's see, what do the notes say about this room?
Everyone that enters the room dies. Huh. Cursed to be unbearable art snobs.
I'll sort of describe it. So this door, as you open it up, Sky, I'm not really sure what I can put down to like really get this idea across easily. As the door opens up, this one seems to enter into a chamber, or another room, but somewhat plainer in decoration. The walls are still the same polished wood, intricately carved as before, but you see gouges and gashes. And there are no tomes or books lining the walls here, but objects of almost every shape or size. There are daggers, there are swords, there are crossbow bolts, there are mannequins set up onto the shelves. You see objects and you recognize what seems like almost like children's toys. Balls and objects used for almost every sport you can imagine line some of the shelves. To give you an idea, it'd be like opening like a gym locker or a gym storage room. Where almost all kinds of matter have been sort of like stacked up in the corners. Some of the shelves sort of overflowing with objects. Many of them showing like extreme signs of use. You even notice like a small patch of the wall where it seems as if things have been like repeatedly bounced against it. To cut over to Felku. So Felku, like you decide to like breeze through or to flip through. What was it?
The Melifonts.
Musings, hexes, and hexer. It seems to be an almost too blandly written. How do you even say it? Thesis on one. You can only assume the titular Melifonts. Opinions and thoughts on hexes and their place in the overall school of spellwork. It doesn't necessarily break down particular hexes and how to cast them, but focuses instead on their general application, their uses as a whole. Rather, say like, for example, if you're reading a very detailed guide on jackhammers, like you could use a jackhammer to do blank. Jackhammers have been used historically to do blank. They're most often used by who's-its to do what's-its. It's all rather dry and perhaps almost a little melodramatic in a sense. You get a very strong sense that this is a magical purist that's
Right.
with an extreme focus on like the arcane arts and sees these as almost like a bumbling use of magic.
Okay.
Got anything useful, Felku?
No, I was looking more for something along the lines of a dark pall upon the land type of curse. Nothing specific to an individual.
I don't think that other book would help you that too much either.
Yeah,
Tiny curses.
think what's happening in the Vale. Maybe not to such a heavy extent.
Would anybody be interested in tiny curses?
Yeah, it's an interesting enough title. I think Sky might check it out.
I already got what I want.
So you decide to check the tiny curses, just as like a brief interlude here. Actually, I have to get up for just a second. Let's grab this though, because I had fun with this one.
Everybody else can check out the other rooms.
But tiny curses seems to be almost a strange mix of practical guide to magic and pranks. Small hexes, almost, in a sense. As a way to like looking at them with no sense of irony lost, with Felku holding Melifont's musings in his hands. It seems to be spellwork designed for very small, very focused applications. And this one actually does dictate how to cast some of the spells, but seems to be less focused on that and more on application, in a sense. It's not a particularly large book.
Spells for practical jokes, you say?
Some seem to make, like, for example, some of them seem to be ways to cast hexes to make bugs a little bit more attracted to people. Not enough to draw them from any distance, but say if they were laying in their bed and a cockroach went by, the cockroach might be more inclined to scuttle on them real quick, just to see kind of what's going on. All the hexes seem to last either a few minutes or at most a few hours, clearly intended to only bother certain people.
So
But you do
basically, it's like a piece of candy spell for a bug, right?
Yeah. But you also do see like a few interesting applications, such as way to like make small stones that you can ward to actually drive away insects, almost like a housemaker's use of magic that shows like patterns for salt circles to sort of slow the buildup of dust, or like I said, small stones that you can hide throughout your house to drive away bugs from certain areas.
This would be handy.
It's a very strange mix of practical use and impractical jokes. And you feel that there's a sort of duality that comes from its authors.
Well, I like both of those.
Something that you do note, Sky, like I said, just before I get up here, because I keep putting it off. Some of the spell work, some of the carvings and patterns that are in the book, you actually do see referenced in the woodwork of this room. Either carved into the shelves or in patterns of the wood.
That's interesting.
And you can see that they were very clearly added after the construction of this chamber, outside of the more intricate carvings that goes into the the shelving. All right, so I got what?
Go ahead.
I got to get up real quick. I'm sorry.
Walk your own damn dog, Ma.
There's a creepy girl playing a violin behind one of these doors. Don't lose my mind.
I'm back. I'm just putting my Snuggie back on.
No one even want to know.
Anyway, I was just about thinking about those rings and such we found. That seems kind of very similar kind of magic.
I'd bet you $10 you know what a Snuggie is, dude.
He doesn't know. That's why he's quiet. It's definitely not because he's AFK.
Yeah, Sky,
It's
it
a
might be.
blanket with armhole.
You might recognize it as like a similar power level, but the applications of the magic are different in terms of enchantment and a sense of almost like physical warding or runic magic.
What is the kind of magic Abel had a fondness for? Guess we can check out these other doors that, people can open.
This is me right now in my wizard Snuggie.
Yeah, I'll open the one right next to me.
You look different than the last time you posted a picture of you and your Snuggie.
Yep, that's me right there.
A lot less feathers.
This is also
An
me.
entire
in this Snuggie.
school of little girls have wigs now.
Ugh.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean. That Durgan's grossed. I don't think Durgan knows what it means.
Yeah, I was just insinuating he donated his hair. What the fuck did you think I meant, Durgan?
Yeah, what did you think you meant?
The thought that John's influence would spread via osmosis from his and corrupt the minds of America's youth, mostly. Because I was literally imagining hordes of little girls with John's personality that creeped me out.
Then Durgan wakes up and realizes he married somebody with John's personality.
I don't know. John's far more tolerant of people.
But he still isn't done corrupting Bang, so.
That's true. She's a resilient one.
Well, I mean, if the last
Like and subscribe.
How do you kill that which is already dead or whatever?
See what's behind door number 3.
So this one, as you push the next door open, seems to be a much larger open space room that I'm going to open in a second here. I'm just going to add another couple tables. Because of this next part of the description, the room itself is filled with tables as they're sort of like splattered or just sort of like set across the floor. Different sizes and perhaps different uses. You're not entirely sure, but each one is covered with different with papers, pens, or with papers, quills, and ink. Some of them quite literally like splattered with the substance, but which you can see has like leaked onto the floor and dripped in a few places. As I move this to the left. And the door with it, just to save space because that's getting kind of old. This room seems messy and unorganized, even compared to the other ones, with piles of paper stacked all over the place and littering the tables and chairs. These one all seems to be, at a quick glance at least by Charlie, various notes, all written in the same handwriting, of different sizes, and I should say almost look like energy to some of the notes. Some of the words are very small, carefully written, very concise, while others are large and bombastic, clearly written in a hurry while the thought was still fresh on the mind. Some of them seem to be several pages thick, sometimes 10 or 15 in a row. Others are single sheets or even just ripped off sections of other pieces of paper. While the walls themselves are lined with much larger, much heavier shelving, which themselves are again lined floor to ceiling with very thick bound tomes.
God, he's like a fucking student on meth getting ready for a
What
test.
does the stuff seem to be about? It's on the tables.
You decide to like flick through some of the notes. Which kind of like size set of notes are you looking for? Like I said, they're all, some of them are just several pages, kind of like loosely stacked together. Others are like almost like bound partial manuscripts, and others are small notes scribbled on like notepads basically, or ripped from other larger pieces of paper.
Hmm. Let's look at the stuff that's written in big letters with a lot of energy.
You decide to pull out one of the pieces that was clearly written down in a hurry. A flash in the pan kind of thought. It seems to be. You like try and like flip through it. At first, it doesn't make any sense. It seems to be Amble like having written down, or Amble or whoever. You're gonna assume Amble. Having written down something very quick, like basic thoughts. It says like something along the lines of focus, energy, conduit, and then like a few, which you can only imagine are words, perhaps an incantation he was working on. But slowly it seems to calm down almost, but still scribbled very quickly. You flick through the pages, skimming along, or like what few pages there are. It seems to have been a thought Amble had about a way to cast spells from a further distance using a certain material as a conduit. He sort of seems to go through the thought of running, or sense like long sections of conduit that spells could be passed through.
Oh, we've seen those.
The only problem, though, is that in these notes, as opposed to the application, Amble can't really think of a use for it. The idea seems sound, but looking through some of the materials in mind, the cost would be too prohibitive even for some of the larger kingdoms to afford only even the smallest runs.
Unless you had a material that can become anything.
Unless you could have a material that could become anything. But even then, the note seems to sort of fade off, sort of dribble into almost like a shrugging motion. You get the word sense how it's written. It basically, it more or less boils down to, I don't know what it could be used for, but it could be used for something, I'm sure.
From the look of this tomb, it doesn't look like he figured out a use for it after all.
Hmm. Scan was to look through through the books to see if she could find anything about the architect or that material he used for everything.
Hey, what's this door do?
That's right. So let's see. What was this room supposed to be before I deleted it? So as you press open that door, Tala, you're sort of like hit with this kind of faded odor. This like brief sensation of like rottenness that then just kind of like gone. into the air. The first thing that you notice is a very messy, unkempt bed that seems to have books, pages, and plates stacked onto sections, with only a small portion up against the southernmost wall that seems to have been kept relatively clear.
Yeah, I get the feeling most of this is sticky. No dice.
But yeah, like looking around, like there's piles of books and paper, some still blank chunks of parchment, but they seem to have like cups and plates stacked on top of them. Let's see. Door. Gliding.
Well, I found Abel's bedroom.
So that's you decide to investigate some of the heavier bound books. And like I said, these seem to be very different, very large, heavy books. None of them bearing any real sense of binding to them, or no words on the binding, other than a symbol.
Why do I get the feeling this is what we found in his room?
And, well, yeah, there's a practical guide to raising chickens. How did you know? So you decide to grab one of the tomes, and it seems to be almost a guide. Or no, it's written in a very pragmatic, very organized method. It almost seems to be like a textbook on magical principle. You decide to flip through a little bit of it, and it's almost like a school book for fledgling wizards, but perhaps not quite fledgling in this one's sense, as it seems to be going into somewhat more powerful casting, the use of circles and runes to enhance and focus energy. But nothing groundbreaking, nothing different, nothing that you yourself hadn't studied in a sense. Whenever you got the chance, at the very least. But very focused and handwritten at that. You can almost think of it as math or wizardry 101.
It's not very useful.
Atala, sort of as you like turn down the hall, you're gonna see a kind of like familiar form, sort of sitting at the doorway, kind of like watching.
Hi, Belly.
As you turn around, you're gonna see Bally sort of like laying down, sort of feet tucked under her, sort of staring into the library, watching you, watching all of you, I should say, sort of move throughout the rooms.
You don't mind if we dig through all of Amble's stuff, right?
I then answer. Belly seems to simply nod her head from side to side as if thinking, but eventually just sort of seems to be content to watch, sort of pawing at her face, cleaning something away, before simply going back to watching.
I think that is a no. Yeah, no, this guy's gonna keep looking for stuff about that strange material that this place seems to be made out of.
Give me a staff instruction book.
What's this door do?
You try the first door, or the first door on the right, I should say, when you enter the room. And this one you find is locked. The door doesn't open when you immediately try it.
Hey, Catmandu, you mind trying this for us?
Hmm. Well, I hope that's not against the rules.
What, you mean because Belly's watching?
I think Belly has been watching from the start.
Hey, Belly, where's the nearest exit of this place? This entire place. Go back outside.
Anyway, Sky will check the lock.
So you turn to Belly, and she sort of like her eyes
me
like
out.
look over to you without turning her head as you ask her. You see her face sort of like scrunch a little bit in thought as she kind of turns and stares at you. You want to leave?
Yeah,
Yes.
it would be nice.
I want to find out what happened.
You see Belly sort of like turn her head back, like losing herself in thought for a moment before kind of like turning and staring at the ground. If you want, I'm allowed to let you go.
But
You see Belly, her eyes sort of like flick and lock onto Tala. This isn't supposed to be a punishment.
it's been pretty punishing.
I mean, actually, they've gone pretty easy on us.
Get back to open.
We should have died a few times by now.
It's very punishing. Like, we only came back to life once or twice.
Go back to unlocking the door.
Yeah, Belly, I'm hungry and I want to go home. And I gotta go see my pig.
You see her kind of
I
like
miss him.
you see,
I
you see
miss
her
my.
kind of like her eyes sort of like scrunch again, like as you describe, why you want to go. But eventually, you see her sort of like like I said, nod her head from side to side. The staff can get you out. Just leave it at the front door, and you can go.
Good to know.
All right. What do we do? Where do we leave it? What do we got to do to get exactly out of here? Please.
Take it back to the main chamber and press it against the stonework. It will fall away. You can use it to open the door with the jester on it. And then, likewise, use it to leave the main hall. When you're outside, press it against the entrance to the tomb, and it will seal itself back up.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's get the hell out of here.
I go up the
Sky
spiral
casts
staircase.
invisibility on herself.
Guys should be opening the door.
Eh,
Sky, I don't want to use command on you.
you can't. You have to have line of sight for that.
Oh, okay. Then I don't want to knock you out by randomly swinging all around this place. And
I'm
then
willing to put up
command
with
on
one
you.
more ass whipping, like, that we haven't found yet in here.
Yeah, I want to go and open the final door and ask him why he's allowed us to pilfer his thing.
All right, you two and Sky want to do it. That's enough. That we don't even need to vote. We can just do it.
Well, no, I mean it's if people want to leave, here's the time to talk about it.
We're this far. I want to see it through. But no, let's go up the stairs or open the door or something.
It would not be according to Sky's nature to just leave something like that.
Fine. At least we know how to get out now. Don't feel such like a rat in a maze.
That and
We're a rat in a maze with a key on the way out.
it also
I guess
it feels like a Picard facepalm moment that we didn't try touching the staff to the stone wall before.
we didn't really know that much about the staff.
Except that it stopped the stone fist of the golem every time you did that.
Anyway, Sky will check out the lock and see if it's something that she can maybe pick.
You decide to investigate the door. You don't. Argo, actually, one of the first things that seems strange is that there doesn't seem to be a keyhole for a lock. Go ahead and roll an investigation for me.
I'll give you a back rub.
Alan runs over and like slips his hand under your collar. Pats your back,
Rubs.
rubs your back.
That's racist to assume that Sky is wearing a collar.
I like the collar of your shirt. That's racist to assume I was being racist.
I'm sure it's
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not pet in nature, but more sexual.
Racist fashion designers.
This guy's a whore. That was the implication.
You know what? Let me use my last luck point.
I mean, saying.
The only person wearing a collar around here should be the lizard.
Oh god, that got me. Like that fucking
Like, did you get high to celebrate after the proposal or something?
Yes.
Well, I mean, you would have done that anyway.
It is Saturday night, especially.
It was like that Sean Connery thing, and then I don't know how the rest of it goes, but your mother's a whore.
It's like, Dibby, it's a little early, isn't it? For stupid questions?
Okay.
What's the difference between a sick duck and your mother?
it was so stupid that I couldn't help but laugh, and now just like remembering it. All right, sorry, but going back into it. So, Sky, do you like sort of like fade back in to whatever? You can still be invisible.
Yeah.
You decide to like investigate the door, running your hands along it. You notice that the door itself doesn't seem to have any gaps. You don't see hinges. You don't see a seam where it connects to the ground. It's simply there, as if it was molded from the wall.
Well, it's worked before. Sky knocks.
You knock on the door. Wait a moment. And then another. You actually hear a small sound from within, as if something shuffling on the other side. But nothing seems to respond, only as if it moved closer to perhaps hear what was going on.
I suppose we'll come back later. This may be something we need to do later.
Okay, Charlie
Let's check the
walks up
stairs.
to Sky at the door, grabs her hand with the staff, and touches the staff to the door.
Could you just ask me to?
You grab Sky's staff,
Oh, it's mine.
and Charlie's little baby hand like moves it towards the door and like knocks it against it. Again, you hear the shuffling side from the other side of the door, and you almost get the sense as if when you're sitting on the other side of a closed door, you see a shadow pass underneath. You get that same sense of movement, as if something's right there. But you feel a sense of meekness.
Oh, is Bailey or whatever fuck's still here?
Yeah, she's kind of watching. Like her eyes are sort of like.
Hey,
wide.
is there a way to turn off the security stuff for this place with that staff by any chance?
You see her sort of like mull over her thoughts and kind of, trying to think of a way to phrase something. You get the intent. Her mouth sort of slowly working through thoughts. She tries to think it through. But eventually she turns to you and makes a half shrug kind of gesture without saying anything. Rules are rules.
Open up. This is the police. We have a warrant.
That's stupid.
What's stupid? Oh,
That's
this is the
stupid.
FBI, open up!
Ah, you beat me to it.
I'm trying every opportunity, everything I have.
Wait, this isn't an actual roll, but just for shits and giggles.
Hey, wait. Why's the large man with the accent trying to break down the door?
This guy's gonna ask through the door.
Okay,
Are
okay.
you Amble?
Tala? Like, do you remember the last time doors were tried to even be knocked open?
Oh, good point. We're not doing that.
But so as you you press the staff against the door. And this time, perhaps for the first time, since you tapped the staff against something, nothing happens. Except for a small, somewhat nervous sounding voice from the other side of the door, which just barely manages to squeak out, It doesn't work that way.
Are you Amble?
Again, you hear the shuffling on the other side of the door, but there's no response this time.
We'll give you some space, okay?
Paw, is that you, Paw?
Carol Ann? Is that you, Carol Ann?
There's still some stuff to explore in here.
Is that the girl's name from The Exorcist?
No, from Poltergeist.
Poltergeist? Yep, sorry, whoops.
Caroline.
Hey, Amble, buddy. Your devil kind of escaped and he's on a rampage.
I don't think there ever was a devil.
Shh.
Again, you hear that shuffling sound, and then, almost surprisingly, the voice again. He was real.
Oh, that's a problem.
That's a big problem, actually.
Well,
Shit.
yeah, for you.
No, according to this, I'm good. Anyone I consider an associate is good.
Yeah, for 5 years.
I thought it was 10.
5.
No, it was fine.
Behold, the most powerful pictures on the internet.
Well, for now, let's go check out those stairs.
You decide to move your way across to the other side of the chamber. Now coming to the small inset spiral staircase that seems to pass upwards. There isn't, but you can see a floor above you. Ceiling simply goes up and, much like before, tapers off, but still the staircase goes up.
I might as well go see where it leads.
I forget, did anyone already read the book on the end of the bed in here?
No idea.
Don't think so.
Charlie, decide to investigate the open book. So, like I said, this room is covered with like a thin layer of dust and has a strange kind of like moldy smell to it, with plates covered with small scraps and half-drank cups of something. You do notice that the mugs look familiar, and sort of recall seeing very similar-looking cups back at the bar. But clearly they were never returned. The book seems to be open and bookmarked on a page that again seems to go over spell work and magic. But this one seems to be focused on, of all things, scrying. In fact, you decide to look around the chamber, and you notice that, as opposed to the rest of the rooms, where everything seemed to be rather haphazardly placed, all of the books in here seem to be rather focused on either who it was that wrote them, and therefore what they're about, or simply the subject matter. All focused on, like I said, scrying magic, or memory magic.
Any names specifically mentioned in the books?
Several of the books bear an insignia that, flipping through them very briefly, seems to be connected to the author, Haswolt. Others seem to be collected anthologies of different musings or writings on somewhat well-known magicians or casters. Some even you yourself recognize. Such as Marywood, Filks, and Catania, being ones that you yourself recognize. Go ahead and give me just a brief, your choice, investigation or perception. All of the books seem to have been bookmarked. You see pieces of paper or strips of fabric sticking out of all the pages, marking individual pages or sections, others simply being stuck at the book at the front or back of the books. But not a single book in the room doesn't seem to have been sifted through or marked in some way. You're just not sure if there's any meaning to it. While you do that, Sky makes her way up the small staircase, trying to see where it leads. As you climb to the top, Sky, and your foot touches the final step, you find yourself in a large room. That seems to be entirely composed of the same smooth white stone from before. It is seamless and blank, with only the staircase beneath you to sort of break up the monotony of it.
Hmm. Alright, Scott will head back out. Oh, it's up there is another one of those rooms like we found Bella in. Oh, Sky, go see if she can help out Divya.
Yeah. Once it got
Right.
back to me, I was gonna see about looking for highlights on any of the pages with bookmarks.
Yeah, go ahead and roll another investigation check for me, Charlie. You pick up a few of the books, flicking through the pages, looking for anything highlighted or noted. You find several pages with pieces of paper stuck to them, or otherwise bookmarked, where there was otherwise nothing on there. And you do see several lines underlined, pen or pencil. As you flick through the book, Sky comes across your shoulder, beginning to read over the pages as she towers over you from behind. And you can go ahead and roll another investigation, as if you had an advantage.
Damn it.
You're very consistent.
Here, let me fucking get over there so I can give you a boost.
As the two of you sort of flick over the tomes, trying to see what it was that Annabelle was looking for, the only pattern you can find is that he was looking very heavily into how scrying magic connects the user to the focus. Obviously, there's an inherent understanding of how to link someone together. You take a Sky would be able to explain, for example, or I think you should be able to do as well, Charlie. I think you can get scrying spells. Likewise, maybe not so much for Feltu, actually. I don't think scrying, or what's it? It's not scrying. What is it?
mean-
Let me see.
Divination magic is Sky's specialty.
I don't think druids are too big on divination magic on average. I don't think. But how Sky would be able to see it and explain it is that divination magic is usually very focus heavy. Take an object, connect it to something, and use it to connect spell work to it. What a lot of these tomes seem to be, or at least the marked passages, are deeper looks into how the magic connects. It's one thing to say that a focus or a kind of forgetting every single word, the things you need to cast the spells, regents, and they're not called regents, but you know what I mean.
Material components.
Yeah, it's like VSF, material components. But it's one thing to say that a focus or material component simply works, giving the spell focus and grounding. But it's one thing to go into deeper of what the mechanics behind it are. Amble seems to be more or less, as far as you can tell, investigating that connection. Why is it that you can take someone's hair and scry their location? Why is it that you can cast a spell on an object and when someone picks it up, track that person?
Oh, I looked it up. Druids actually do get the scrying spell.
Oh,
Yeah, it's at 5th level though. Locate object, locate creature, find traps. Those are
it's something that you would find rather fascinating yourselves, guys, since you and I have gone rather in depth into how magic works. But especially being that this is your particular focus. And you can see it's almost like one of those musings where people come across, it's almost like the thought space of lofty professors or the scholars, or really even more the domain of philosophers, trying to understand the fundamental mechanics of magic, something that in itself almost defies mechanics. And that, for some reason, the other half of the books seem to be focused on memories and how they are connected to magic.
Maybe he was trying to find a way to use a memory as a focus? I didn't think it was that stupid.
Well, Sky, I think that's a great idea, says Tala. Well, I don't know. They're just a cat, says also Tala.
Tala was talking to himself again.
Cassius chimes in. I agree with the sentiment, but refuse to agree with Tala.
Wow, it's like we don't even need players.
I just want to go up the stairs, so I'm waiting for you guys to, finish.
I already told you what's up there.
What's up there? I missed that.
It's a blank room, like with Belly.
Oh.
Just like you missed the entire party getting crushed to death last week.
Even better, Cassius, you go up there and Tala's there.
I go back downstairs.
And then Felku shows up and blocks
The door disappears.
Hey, what's going on, man?
And the staircase goes away.
Felku doesn't stop me. Wouldn't stop me from going downstairs. Trust me.
No man or lizard's gonna keep me from getting out of this room.
I would like to talk to the voice behind the door again.
All right, let's do a little bit more before I have to go for the night.
Yeah, it is quitting time.
Yeah, so let's do one more thing with the door Tala, and then I have to go to the bathroom like crazy, and I have to go check on the turtles.
You continue to harass Amble.
Amble, buddy, what's the point behind this? We don't want to hurt you. We don't intend to destroy your home. What's the point of all this? Did you send the guy in the town?
What was that last part?
Did you send the guy into town?
Wait.
I think he
I'm sorry, he's still here?
Yes.
Sorry we broke into your house.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we were supposed to come here.
All right, so Tala walks up to the door and then throws up a word medley against it.
Trying to be more diplomatic.
You ask a few questions, strung one after the other together. We felt you out of the void. Reason to banish him up there. When you ask what the point of all of this is, the voice on the other side kind of mutters to itself, almost making noise, partial words or fragments of words, as if it's trying to put it all together. Just as it's beginning to speak, you hear Belly sort of call out, and at this she sort of holds her hand in the air while she says it, as if making quotation mark fingers as a cat. And she speaks in a different tone, almost, or not a different tone, a different cadence. Well, you see, Belly, adventure has no purpose. That is why you see her sort of like trail off, sort of waving her hand in the air. The voice sort of quiets down, sort of like it's muttering, petering out as she says it. As you ask if it's sent, a man in the town. This time you get a rather quick, very straightforward answer. No, I wouldn't have sent anyone.
Then how would someone know about this, and why would he send someone to pillage what he thought was a tool?
Because people do that all the time, Durgan. It's
Why
called
would you come
adventure.
to rob it to him? Yeah.
I mean, it's like
We didn't come to rob anything. We just came to look at all the cool things here, and maybe if they were lying around,
it's like
they're abandoned.
Why
gift
would
shop?
Why would someone send people to rob a tomb as Ta'ala sits with 300 gold pieces stuffed
I
into
would
his
like to
pockets?
again apologize for breaking into his house.
And it's
Cool.
just like, you know,
Yeah, I feel bad about it.
It's like it's a giant hole in the ground with magical ruins, like barely visible through the crack we had to force open to come in here. Like, yeah, someone's gonna report that.
But as you apologize, Alvin, the voice doesn't say anything. You simply hear it shift around from the other side. As
What if I say it in Dwarvish?
pacing slightly from one side to the other. You repeat it in Dwarvish, and you hear it pause. And you hear like the footsteps stop. There's like a pause. Then you hear it speak out a phrase in very halted, stuttered Dwarvish that you almost have to like cringe at hearing it. It's spoken in a way that really only a human could, quote unquote, speak Dwarvish. But it seems to be something about. You almost have to sigh like as you say it. Something about a thank you for the effort of trying to speak to me, but I don't understand. Is kind of what you get.
Okay.
It's not very good at Dwarvish.
No hablo inglés.
But you do notice, like, that as you get that response, like you see like a little a little flash, and you see like Belly like sort of looking at you excitedly, like her eyes kind of like wide. This guy's sheet open for some reason.
What?
I opened your sheet for something, I guess.
An accident deleted all of your gear. Oh well.
I just had it minimized on the screen. Oh,
How about I ask Belly if she speaks Dwarvish in Dwarvish?
I was checking your passive perception. You asked the same question to Belly, and you see her kind of like stare at you and kind of makes like a shrugging gesture, and then just like before, but this time more purposeful, she very explicitly utters out the same poorly spoken, stuttered Dwarvish, but clearly this time intending to stutter and stumble over the words.
I refer to my new dictionary for the proper word for it.
You scroll through your
Okay.
dictionary.
Then
And-
for my last thing too, I'll just say your stonework's very nice in your house in common, and then I'm fucking ready to get the hell.
And as you say that, you hear Ta'ala like flip through the book, look up, and say in Dwarvish, "Kant balls."
And I just fucking shake my head and just walk away.
And he also pronounces it poorly.
I feel like
I'm
Tala
done.
did something offensive. Did Tala do something bad?
Durgan, you
No, he's just doing things that are stupid, like normal.
I'm done.
never mind. He just says it because he speaks Dwarvish.
Wait, has he been looking up words in Dwarvish when he can speak it?
It's supposed to be a book of curse words, so assuming it would
Maybe
have
he
some
didn't know
inventive
curse words.
phrases.
It would have something what?
I assumed it would have some inventive
This
phrases.
is secret, super Dwarven language.
Extra racist.
There you go.
All he finds is racist fucking limericks about dark elves. All he finds.
Your beard is
Oh.
thinning and unkempt.
Page after page of songs about how weak and Just horrible
Yeah.
things about dark elves.
Yeah, he's just like,
Impotence that dark elf males are.
yeah,
Yeah.
this song, this seems to be a cheerful limerick that talks about the lack of masculinity in the female drow, or the male drow, and
Drow.
the giant boobies of the female ones.
And how
Yeah,
gross it is to eat spiders and have sex with them or whatever they do.
It's that they sleep with spiders.
They have sex with spiders and eat them or do whatever. Who knows? It's disgusting.
The order isn't even specified.
And they start at the bottom.
Shut up, Tippy. You shut your mouth. That's so fucking stupid.
Give yourself double inspiration.
It does look like
Start at the bottom.
parakeet
It's like,
sushi, Carney.
Well, it's like, what end would you start
that?
at if you were
That does look like
Look,
parakeet
Gibby has
sushi.
put a lot of thought into having sex with.
Hey, wait a minute.
anything.
Damn it.
Oh god.
You went for the jugular. Fuck.
That was a 7th level fireball right there.
Fireball, it fixes everything.
All right, but for real, guys, I gotta be right back.
Alright.
If you want to just go, I love you. Goodbye forever. But I'll be right back.
Good night. Durgan gets to work 7 days this week.
Good, you deserve it.
I got this.
I hope you're personally put on septic tank duty.
So we're like done here, right? We talked to the dude. What
Yeah, I
else
think
was
so.
there?
There's another door, you know.
Just gotta open that.
I guess we could ask him what's behind it.
All right, I'm back. I got to walk out there and say, "Are the turtles in the shed?" And I was told yes. So. Oh.
Turtle.